You can sit there if you'd like to sit. That's fine. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to call the hearing to order. I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we're in Treaty 1 territory and the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. My name is Ron Merrick. I'll be your chairperson this morning. Introducing the panel members, to my left is Mr. Ray Vesicott, and to his left is Mr. Brent McIntyre. Representing the city of Winnipeg from the assessment department is Jason Brown, and our recording secretary is Kelsey Harrison. We'll be hearing application for revision of the assessment roll in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision is requested has been described in each application, and we will limit discussions to those matters. The statements that the applicant or the assessor make at this hearing are sworn testimony, and anybody speaking in these matters must be sworn in. Please be advised that comparisons and assessments of properties are not considered evidence of market value by the Board of Revision. The board is appointed annually by City Council and is independent of it, along with the City Administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence provided at the hearing and issue a written order that will be mailed to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that the board's decision with respect to application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification or to Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to application from exemptions from taxation. Should you wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included in the board's order. In respect to the hearing this morning, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant. Following the swearing in, we will then have the assessor's testimony followed by questions that the other applicant may have, and then it will be the applicant's testimony followed by questions. Each party will have the opportunity to summarize if they wish. Once all that evidence about the application has been brought forward, the applicant may leave. The process will repeat for each other item on the docket this morning. The session will close after the application has been heard, and the board will deliberate in private and make its decisions. You will receive the order by registered mail as soon as possible. As information, all public hearings are live stream recorded and will be part of the public record. I'll ask our secretary to swear in the assessor or affirm, and the same with Mr. Story.
Thank you.
Could you please state your name? And do you affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Could you please state your name?
Sid Story.
And do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're just going to take a brief 5-minute break and for some discussions, and then we'll call the hearing back to order. Okay, we'll call the hearing back to order, and we will go according to the docket. So item number 1 we'll go to is 106 Deval Road. So whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number is 0306-006-2200. Address is 106 DeVos Road. 2020 assessment is $5,268,000. The department's willing to make a recommendation at $4,700,000.
All right. Mr. Story, are you in agreement?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I am. Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Brown, maybe just tell us how you got there. Just is it market rents and cap or what?
It will say revised NOI.
Revised NOI?
Yeah.
Panel members, any questions?
No questions. No questions.
Okay. We'll go a little further down the street, so we'll do 101. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number 0306-007200. Property is located at 101 DeVos Road. Defending a 2020 assessment at $1,422,000. And I believe the appellant is going to ask for confirmation.
That's correct.
Right. Any question, panel members?
No questions. No questions.
next one, which is 1540 Steele Avenue. Whenever you're ready, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number is 0309-3002450. Address is 1540 Seal Avenue. Defending a 2020 assessment of $3,899,000. And I believe the appellant, once again, is going to ask for confirmation.
Yes, that's true. Thank you.
Panel members, any questions?
No questions. No questions.
Okay, we will go to Nairn Avenue, 630. Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number is 1409-3900-300. Address is 630 Nairn Avenue. This is on the south side of Nairn, on the corner of Nairn and Gray. Defending a 2020 assessed value of $1,361,000. This is an increase over last cycle that was at $1,238,000. So it represents a 9.9% increase. Once again, the 2018 was $1,238,000, and that was the applicant asked for confirmation on that. So this is a warehouse property consisting of 3 buildings, 1 premise, all 1 story. Actual years built are between 1957 and 1986. We're using an overall effective age of 1962 on this property. Have a land area of 55,044 square feet, plan area of 11,346, and a leasable area of 14,282. Land to plan ratio of 4.85 to 1. On the third page, we have some rent comparables, all located in the same area as the subject property. These leases range from a start date of 2012 up to 2016. The leased areas of the comparables range from 2,000 up to 15,276. Wall heights range from 12 to 26. Effective years built range from 1971 to 2016, and we can see the comparable rents range from $7.94 up to $12.25. On page 4 of the evidence, we can see the income workup for this property. Once again, we have a leasable area of 14,282, used in an overall rent of $7.52 per square foot. This generates a gross potential of 107,401. We've reduced that by 5% vacancy, 2% expenses, and a shortfall of $3.75 per square foot. We capitalized the NOI of $97,312 at 7.15, which generates the final value of $1,361,000. Some pictures starting on page 10. Once again, this is located on Nairn, on the corner of Nairn and Gray. This is a meat market, sausage makers, meat market delicatessen. Some street photographs on page 11. Page 12 shows the retail components of this property. Page 13 shows some of the operations in the back, meat smoking facility, and the final picture on page 14. Page 15 shows the plan area of the property. This was constructed in different segments. Retail at the front, and then the smokehouse and refrigeration near the rear of the building. Page 16 shows the 2018 Realty Assessment Board of Revision Order. So this was heard January 22nd, 2018. The decision is based on the applicant's request for confirmation. So once again, 2018 used a NOI of 86,000.
I'm going to stop you there, Mr. Brown. We're not going to give any prior
Okay.
board decisions because we don't have, I guess, the guts of the material.
Sounds good.
So we don't have all the information to weigh all the facts. So
No problem. Thank
we
you.
won't give it a lot of consideration.
Understood. The following page is simply the income and expense. This is fully owner occupied, so there are no rents to be extracted from this. Based on that evidence, we ask that the assessment be confirmed at $1,361,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Story, question?
Yes, have you inspected the site, Mr. Brown?
I have not. I drive by it routinely.
Okay. Okay. And all of your, this is interesting, your numbers are model driven.
The numbers for the assessment, yes.
And this building, although it's classified as a industrial warehouse, functions more as a storefront, a store, correct?
There's, I would say there's two components to this building. There is the rear building where they do production of smoked meats,
Yeah.
and then the front, which is a storefront, which would command a higher rent if we had classified it as such.
It would be retail.
Correct.
And if it were retail, it might also have a higher vacancy rate.
That's correct. The rents would be higher, but the vacancy would most likely be higher.
And there's no evidence, I've seen your comps, back to the track. There's two of the comps in your 171 code, the 2 units, and that's, they're self-storage units, aren't they?
I am unaware. They are smaller unit. Our code, the one at the top one on code is 12,000 square feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure the.
But what they are is they're self-storage units, is that right?
I don't believe so.
Okay. There's two of them.
There is two for 101.
And they are industrial warehouses, to the best of your knowledge?
Correct.
Are all of these on here industrial warehouses?
Yes.
And I know the answer because you and already discussed it. There was a sale, probably around the reference date, but it was a sale, it was an asset sale. We haven't, or a share sale, and we haven't. The city hasn't.
Wasn't registered at land title, so we don't have access to that.
All right. And there's no evidence as to the cap rate, no support for the cap rate, other than your document, page 6?
Yeah, so we've used 7 1/4, or no, 7.15, sorry, which falls, you can see the second column, or the second rows, industrial. So the city uses between 5.5 and 9.8, with the 20th percentile being at 6.34 and the 80th percentile being at 7.8. So closer to the, I mean, probably kind of down the middle of those two.
Okay. So if it were looked at as a industrial warehouse, and how it's classified by the city, it would have a relatively low ceiling height, 12 to 13 feet.
That's correct.
It would have, we talk about age, condition, how you affect cap rate. Built in 1957, so it's 60 plus years old.
The oldest part was built in 1957. There was other additions that are newer, dating up to 1986.
Okay. And you're using an 82, I think you said, don't you say in here?
62 overall.
62 overall. So 62 is 38 plus 9, so 50 years. And the land to building ratio for an industrial warehouse seems reasonable.
Yes.
Okay, that's 4 to 1. Okay. And just for the board's sake, page 2, pardon, book 2? Yeah, page 2 of the brief shows a photograph with, on the left side, which would be the east end, is the kind of the retail component, and on the right end is the smoke. correct?
Correct.
And
On the right is actually offices and storage, and the rear is the kitchen and smokehouse.
Right, but if you've been in there, the office is Mike Watson's little corner, there's no real office.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's just, it's very small. And then, you don't have direct evidence on capitalization rate, but the city did issue some information on your page 7, and it shows in the industrial, at the bottom that we have Watt Street is in close proximity.
Relatively.
Yeah, and it's a video cellar. Are you familiar with that building?
Oh, no,
Okay. It's a retail building, and it runs video still. Again, not an industrial, but it's in the evidence package, but it's got an 8% cap rate, right?
Yeah, those aren't meant to be comparable specific to subject property. They're just to illustrate the accuracy of the model. But if
How'd that work? The accuracy of the model on that industrial warehouse.
I would say that Narren is a favorable location over Waterloo.
Yeah, but I guess the issue is, and what we really disagree on, is this thing is supposed to be an industrial warehouse, and was actually bought for redevelopment. And if 225 watt is something included in the model, some of the inputs into the model, one would have to question the accuracy of the model, because it's clearly is very small, and it's, how many square feet is it?
Roughly a third of the size.
5,500 square feet, retail store on Watt Street. Okay, I won't belabor the point, it's just, and if you go there, here's the meat and potatoes of this file. On your page 12 is a retail store, correct? And on page 13 is the butcher shop in the retail store, and then the smokehouse, which is at the west end of the property.
I'd say it's more in the rear of the building.
Yeah, okay. And interestingly enough, we talked about this, the owner, the new owner, is an accountant by trade, and a very good friend of mine. And when he did the questionnaire, he inherited the sausage business. So if you look at page 17, for interest only board, he's showing his sales of $3,216. So that's kind of an interesting. He put his whole financial statement in here. And those are my questions.
I thank you. Mr. Mesicott?
No questions.
Mr. McIntyre?
And I have no questions.
I have none either. Mr. Story, the floor is yours.
Okay. If we go to our brief, you'll see the photograph on the front, again, as we discussed. And that building, Mr. Brown just mentioned, is kind of in the back, the smoker. That smoker section, as I recall, is set back a bit.
Yeah, you can see on my page 15 the plans
Yeah.
that outlines all the areas.
And the key, I think, why we got any disagreement at all is on page 2 of our brief, you'll see it's classified as an industrial warehouse. However, the prime use is probably the retail. And I should tell you, it was bought for redevelopment. It was bought as a real estate land sale. But the owner, or the guy who bought the land, asked the owner, who's elderly now, when he could get all his equipment out. And he said he really wasn't interested in the equipment, you can have it. So he inherited a business, when he bought this business. Anyway, as an industrial warehouse, it's on 1.3 acres. It's not the best land to building ratio. It's got a very bad ceiling height. It is an older building. There's been no permits to the best of our knowledge or the owner's knowledge ever taken on it. The assessment is $1,361,000. If we use an income approach with industrial warehouses as our consideration, you'll see that we have a year of construction of 1962. That's on page 3 of our brief, I'm sorry. The assessment department, using a model rent, I presume for I don't know how they do if that's for a retail, that would be either a flex warehouse, which would be more modern and different utility than this, or it would be more of a retail rate. The $752 if you were to look at it as an industrial warehouse, as the city has it classified, it's our position that the rate would be more in the range of $5.50 a square foot, and I'll get to that in just a minute. We accept the city's vacancy at 5%. That would tell us that the city is leaning towards a retail classification, a retail function, because historically they're about 2.5% on these industrial warehouses. We're suggesting a cap rate of 7 3/4 based on age, based on condition. It has not been updated. There is some roof, and he might have done some of it now with some significant roof work. He bought it with the intention initially of demolishing it, so it isn't in the best of shape. If we flip the next page, you'll just see the city workup. More pictures. We like pictures. Everybody knows that fiberglass bowl on top of the building. If we go to industrial cap rates on our page 10, again, the city's provided no evidence as to, specific evidence as to cap rate, just the third-party reports and then what they suggest to be somewhere between 5 and 9%. What we've done here is we've looked at a number of industrial warehouses because that's how it's classified, and the ones with the blue are probably the best comparables. That's at 7.93. Overall, using all of them, is 8.29. So we think that a cap rate of 7 3/4 is probably appropriate. Again, without recognizing any deferred maintenance if there are roof repairs and things of that nature to be done. Market rents, so we did our 550. We look at, again, industrial warehouses, not retail stores. And we have a number of properties here on our page 11, which have a rent of $517, a weighted average of $441, a median of $550, and an average rent of $497. So we use $550. Somebody would pay more. It would be like a flex warehouse if they could do retail out of it, which they do. So that's the confusion and the difference between the city's model 752 rent and the 550. We would suggest, I think that if Mr. Watson, when he bought it, if he didn't see this opportunity of continuing on with the sausage business, it would probably be torn down by now, probably be a vacant lot. So we're suggesting that 550 is appropriate. We'd like the 5% recovery, that's on page 12. Again, there's some cap rate evidence there. But I would ask the board to consider using the industrial parameters as per the classification and considering 550 support of our comps as a market rent and a cap rate of 7.75. The city is suggesting somewhere between 5 and 9. 7 3/4 is between 5 and 9. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Brown, questions of Mr. Story?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. You've mentioned a few times that this building is sold, but you don't know the sale price for the transaction?
I know it was less than $1 million, and as it is, the reason the owner hasn't shared that with me more because we made an allocation between the land, building, and the equipment.
Okay.
So I don't know the amount, but it's sold. I'm going to suggest it didn't sell for $1 million.
Still showing the owner is Central Products and Foods Limited, which is the name on the outside of the building. So there was no...
It was a shares they bought it. It was Mike Watson is the new owner.
Okay. So they bought the limited company as well?
They bought the company. That's why we don't have the number.
Okay. Just
It was listed for sale. It's not a secret. That's what they were asking.
Okay, I didn't see any listings for it. Quickly turning to your page 10. Most of these sales are from 2013, 2014. There's a couple 2015 and one 2016. That's
Correct, yeah.
So all between 2 to 4 years prior to the reference date.
Yeah.
And you had mentioned the two in blue as being the best comparables. However, you'll agree that 100 Paquin is 121,000 square feet, which is significantly
Yes.
bigger than the subject.
Yeah.
And
And Camille Cease is fairly new.
yes. And then on page 11, the rents, nothing in the area.
I think a lot of these are in the northwest quadrant, but let me just look really quickly. Mr. Century, Sergeant, Extra. There's a reason for this in our, we have well over 100 older industrial properties in the St. James area as a result of the acquisition of two portfolios, the Ada portfolio and the Ing. They were over 100 buildings, and so the majority of our, we as a firm, work on, are in that segment. But Nairn is also a very interesting street. I do some work along Nairn. We had a number of hearings yesterday. Nairn is kind of a flow-through street. Traffic moves very quickly, and but this location, because it's on Nairn, and because we're in retail, it's valuable because of the traffic. Good exposure. The world knows about that big fiberglass bullet. So these are in another area that did have to be adjusted.
Those are my questions, thank you.
Thanks.
I thank you. Mr. Mescott?
You mentioned a few times that this property is probably more retail than industrial.
Well, that's the way that, yes. It's operating. The function of it is that it's got a big retail component. And you can see by his financial statements, he does over $3 million in sausage
Right.
sales. So that's retail. But the city classifies it as industrial.
Right.
So we, using mass appraisal, are saying, well, if this is industrial, an old building, 60-year-old building, 12-foot ceiling heights, no loading facilities, would probably only command a $5.50 square foot. The city has come up with a model rent of $7 and change, but the model may or may not, I don't know, may or may not take into consideration that there's more retail than industrial. And it shows that they've allowed 5% for vacancy, which would the market vacancy for retail is somewhere between 5 and 7%, whereas in these industrial warehouses, a lot of them are 4.5 and 2.5. So it would appear, I think it functions as a retail, but it's classified by the city as industrial.
And if it was retail, the rent would be higher than the $5.50 that you. if you
Could be,
look at-
yeah.
if you
Could
look
be,
at
again,
retail.
depending on the condition.
Yeah,
Rent is based on the condition of the building. I know that the roof has to be replaced.
Right.
When you go in, you can see it from inside the building, you see what they've had. That's an old building. As a matter of fact, I think half of the roof has been replaced more currently. When you look at it, you can see it's a different color.
That's all my questions.
I thank you. Mr. McIntyre?
And I have no questions.
Okay, I have none. Summation of either party?
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay. We'll go on to Keenly Stag, number 25, Mr. Brown.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number is 14093810800. Location is 25 Keenly side. 2020 assessed value is $941,000, and I believe the applicant is going to ask for confirmation.
That's correct.
I'm sorry, I just missed that.
I just request confirmation.
Okay.
There's
Panel members, any questions?
No questions.
No questions.
Okay. Okay, we'll go on to Church Avenue, which is 1660. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number is 14064660700, located at 1660 Church Avenue. This is an Artis Winnipeg industrial property. 2020 assessed value is at $3,812,000. I'll just quickly get you to turn to page 10. So the aerial photograph on the bottom, the property to the left is actually a sister property of this, of the subject property. You can see on page 13, this is from the artist website. They actually classify these as one economic unit on their website. And further to that point, on page 18, they actually combine the statements into one statement. You can see at the top, 1658 to 1660 church. So they're treating this as one economic unit. The sister property was heard on October 11th, 2019. We're prepared to honor that decision. Used a 7.25 cap. So that would be a revised value of $3,488,000.
$3,488,000. Mr. Story?
Yes, thank you. I accept.
Council members, any questions?
No questions.
No question.
We'll go on to Main Street, 771 Main Street. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number is 14099958300, located at 771 Main Street. 2020 assessed value is $843,000. The department's willing to make a recommendation at $800,000.
Mr. Story?
Yes, we accept, thank you.
Council members, any questions?
No questions.
Just an NOI?
Yeah.
This would have a cap rate of infinity. This is a rough area, southern Maine.
Okay, we'll go on to the last one, which is Main Street, 783. Mr. Brown?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Roll number is 140087500, located at 783 Main Street. 2020 assessed value is $279,000. The department's going to make a recommendation at $250,000.
Mr. Story?
Yes, we're happy with that, thank you, Mr. Chair.
That will be based on revised cap.
Council members, any questions?
No questions.
What's the cap one?
9.2. Previous property was at 9.8, and they're actually physically joined, so it makes sense.
That was all my questions.
All right, I think that concludes our hearing, so Mr. Story, thank you.
Thank you,
And,
Mr. Chair,
I
gentlemen.
think you know all the results except for maybe, no, I think this is.
6:30 there.
Yep. Just the one.
So thank you for coming, Mr. Story. Mr. Brown, thank you for your presentations, and I think that concludes our hearing, so thank you very kindly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, panel members.
Exclusive.